Hello, everybody. How have you been doing? Hopefully, 2025 has been treating you well. That was a joke. Anyway, I wanted to do something a little different today and kind of experiment with a more free-form talk, discussion about life lessons from bullet hell. Now, before we get into the discussion proper, I've got two disclaimers to make. So, first of all, this is not meant as absolute truth. This is just some work in progress thoughts bubbling inside my head, subject to change. But I do think that there's value in sharing this stuff and maybe kind of discussing it together and stuff. And number two is that these are not life lessons that you can get exclusively from bullet hell. I think you can get them from many kinds of activity, but I do believe that the activity does need to have a kind of a certain kind of depth to it. This doesn't look good. Not this depth, this kind of depth. Like recently, I've been kind of interested in Go, the board game Go. And I've been just kind of, checking up some videos on it, reading up on it, and there's been several like professional players or Go masters who have said things like, everything that I know about life I've learned from Go, or Go is like a mirror. So when you're playing the game, you're not confronting the opponent, you're confronting yourself. And I haven't played Go myself, at least yet, but I can kind of see that because like in Go, the basic rules are very simple, but the complexity that arises out of it is kind of infinite. And I feel like bullet hell is kind of similar. There's kind of shared spirits in that the basic actions that you can do in bullet hell, they're very simple. But then actually to kind of to clear a game or play a game well, to score, that's a very daunting task, a very complex one, and one that allows you to use bullet hell as a kind of a mirror too. So yeah, you can use it to kind of investigate yourself, investigate your thoughts, emotions, kind of preconceptions or misconceptions that you have about the world, life, and about yourself. And so there are several topics that I'm going to try to talk about today. So yeah, that's for the intro. Let's get into the first one. So what I want to start out with is talking about the fact that, wait for it, learning is fun. I know, shocking. But it's not just that learning is fun. It's that difficult things force you to learn. So in a way, difficult things force you to have fun. Forced fun. That's what life is all about. No. What I want to say is that often when we become interested in a new kind of a hobby or some kind of thing, like let's say right now I'm interested in Go, and with many things there's kind of a daunting learning curve, or like when you just start out playing a new game or maybe learning a new sport or whatever, you suck at it. You look at people who do the thing well and you're like, like how can I just kind of fast forward to that phase where I'm not a beginner anymore, I don't suck anymore, I'm somebody who can kind of play proficiently, like clear Dolapachi or whatever. I know I had that feeling when I was first started getting into bullet hell. But the thing is, that beginner phase, that's a very precious period of time. And when it's over, you're never going to have it back. Like, it's cool. So if we talk about bullet hell, there's like certain techniques that you can learn, like, tap dodging, bullet hurting, offensive bombing, whatever. So when you start getting good at the genre, because I say good because you can always be better at bullet hell, because it's kind of an infinite genre in a way. The patterns kind of start to go into slow motion almost, and you kind of know where you need to be instinctively and stuff. And it's a very cool feeling, like being able to gather up some of the fundamental skills and then kind of learn a new game more quickly. But it's a very different feeling from when you're just kind of starting out and everything is new to you. You're never going to learn as many big things as during this period, and it just hits differently. It's a tougher time. Like you're going to go through a lot of annoyance and frustration and just being overwhelmed and stuff. But again, when it's over, I think you're going to look back on it kind of fondly and maybe even be a little jealous of people who are just getting into the thing. To quote the late great Zen master Shunryu Suzuki, in the beginner's mind, there are a lot of possibilities, and in the experts, there are only few. Now, an expert may know better than a beginner what to do in a certain situation and be able to play better or whatever. But it's kind of it's a more closed mindset. You've already made those connections, new connections in the brain, and then you're kind of following them. You're kind of strengthening them. Of course, sometimes you're also or often learning new things and kind of branching out a little bit. But as a beginner, it's going to be an absolute kind of a whirlpool of new connections in your brain when you're doing it. And then when you're starting to get it kind of together, it's just an amazing feeling. So what I want to say is savor this. I know it may sound kind of like if you're struggling with the basics and stuff and you're getting frustrated and stuff, it just doesn't feel good. But just know that it's a very interesting period in your hobby, and just to, when I think about my journey with bullet hell, like last year I cleared Akai Katana by Cave, and it's a good game, and I had a reasonably enjoyable time with it. But it's kind of weird because just to do a survival clear of the original arcade mode, it's not that difficult if you have your fundamental skills together. So I felt like I cleared it twice, just by kind of following my instincts and not really learning the game. And it was kind of cool, but at the end, it just felt empty, strangely. When I compare it to stuff like my first clear of, let's say, Ketsui, because that was just, I kind of had to go through it like stage by stage, boss by boss, and really route it out and really step up my game and figure out like the kind of the basic techniques of bullet hell and everything. And it's just kind of there were a lot more negative emotions associated with Ketsui. That's actually something that I want to talk in just a second about, unpleasant emotions and how they are actually okay in moderation. But yeah, like comparing my clear of Ketsui compared to my clear of Akai Katana, it's just completely different. So yeah, I think that was the main thing that I wanted to say. So if you're just starting out with bullet hell, or I don't know, Go or whatever, being frustrated is part of the experience in a way. But there's also there are joys in being a beginner that you will never get again when you attach a certain level of basic proficiency. So I think, yeah, you lose that beginner's mind where there are a lot of possibilities and you can learn things at a very rapid rate and kind of get better at a rapid rate and kind of having all these new experiences. So yeah, learning is fun. difficulty forces you to learn, so don't be afraid of the difficulty. And as much as possible, try to savor the beginner phase because you're going to miss it when it's gone. Topic number 2. There's a difference between unpleasant emotions that are harmless and those that are harmful. So let me begin exploring this topic by talking about this thing that we have here where I live, and it's called swimming outdoors in the wintertime when the water is just barely above freezing. So you you go outside, go into this water surrounded by ice sheets, and then kind of chill there, literally chill there for a while, and then come out. You don't actually do a lot of swimming unless you're really hardcore. Like I myself, I maybe take like 3-4 deep breaths and then I come out because it's just too much, because it's like your body is signaling you like, what are you doing? Stop this immediately, you're going to die. You get this response from the body. But also, when you've done this and when you come out, you feel amazing. Like, because I guess it's because your body is actually producing a lot of all kinds of like positive chemicals and hormones and stuff, because you're putting it into this alert mode or something. And yeah, it feels really good. It's like almost intoxicating. And you know, people become addicted to it, and me too. So yeah, but to get this amazing feeling, you have to overcome kind of a barrier that is both physical and mental. So the fact that when you're kind of stepping into the water, that's when your brain starts to tell you like, no, don't do this, stop. And then when you're in the water, then your body is like, come out immediately. This is horrible. So you have these things kind of, you know, shouting inside your mind, and it is tough to go in there. It's kind of, you have to overcome, or at least I myself have to overcome this again and again, this kind of nasty feeling of going into the freezing water. But it also has allowed me to kind of learn that those feelings can be overcome, and they can also be just kind of, they're just part of the experience. They're not really that serious. You don't need to take them that seriously. And, you know, with bullet hell, I think we've all been there when we're doing kind of maybe learning a new game or doing a couple of runs, and then, you know, one run you start bleeding resources in stage 2 and you're like, that's not good. And then playing another run, and then you game over at stage 3 and you're like, not this shit again. And you know, you get this frustration, anger, and it's like, like, why can't I do this? And it's all these kinds of feelings. And, you know, often you just maybe stop playing for the day and come back in a couple of days, and, you know, maybe you start playing better, or at least you feel kind of better about your play or something. And what I would say here is that, like, both this outdoors winter swimming thing and bullet hell have kind of helped me kind of not understand necessarily, but kind of reinforce this idea that there's going to be some unpleasant emotions in almost everything that you do in life. It's like, you know, in relationships, even with your like very close, your like loved ones, you're going to get some like, you know, challenging situations, some conflicts. And the fact that those conflicts arise, it doesn't mean that you don't love that person or you're not close to that person. It just means that something happens, and maybe you kind of need to figure out why, and if it's really something that you need to maybe talk about, or if it's just because, you know, you didn't have lunch in time and you were kind of getting hangry or something. And, you know, sometimes it's just, you know, you can be annoyed at a person at the game, and it just, you know, it arises and then it passes, and it's just kind of out of the system. So yeah, so those feelings are going to come in everything that you do, and you don't need to get kind of like, I think we often think about like video games as the source of something super fun and relaxing to do. And of course, even bullet hell is fun and relaxing, believe me. Um, but there's going to be those uncomfortable and unpleasant moments and feelings, and those are okay. They are not a sign that you need to, they're not signaling you that you should stop doing that thing. It's just kind of maybe you need to take a break, or maybe you just kind of have to get over that feeling, or maybe, whatever. But of course, it's very important to differentiate between these uncomfortable feelings that are kind of okay and part of life, and those that are actually kind of more deep-seated and that tell you that you need to actually take action. Because I think with bullet hell, often when you start to really get into a game and maybe you've already kind of learned it, routed it out or something, and you're going for the clear and maybe it isn't quite happening, and game overing on the last boss, on the last hit point of the last boss or something, and then you just kind of get really like actually kind of angry or disappointed or frustrated, whatever, and maybe you start kind of obsess about it, kind of start to play more compulsively, or it kind of becomes this almost an addiction, or really the game becomes your opponent and you're like really kind of going for it, and the more you do it, the worse you feel. I know I've had those moments, and when you're really actually making yourself feel worse, that's when you should actually take maybe a longer break, or maybe maybe change your approach, maybe kind of go deeper into where the problem lies. So yeah, I think that was the main point that I wanted to make. So a little bit of unpleasantness, of uncomfortable feelings, that's okay, and it can be kind of it might be a barrier that you have to overcome to get at the good stuff, or it just kind of comes with the territory, whether it's bullet hell. I keep saying bullet hair. What is this bullet hair? Anyway, whether it's bullet hell or it's kind of going outdoor swimming, or it's a relationship or whatever. So yeah, overcoming those things, that's just life. But then if you kind of keep on getting like, if it feels like the swamp of like bad vibes that you're just kind of sinking into step by step, then you have to kind of take a step back and kind of look at the situation more clearly and maybe do some changes. Topic number 3. Having goals for yourself and trying to attain those goals is good. But don't expect the fulfillment of those goals to make you happy, at least not in the long term. So often what happens, like maybe you want to, let's say you have a bullet hell clear that you've been working on for a while, then you just keep on working on, you keep on playing, keep on doing runs, you keep on studying the game, and then once you get that clear, it's going to feel amazing. And of course, it's a kind of it's a worthy thing to strive for, to do. It's all around a good thing to do these things. But what happens is that like you get the clear, or you attain some other goal, and then you feel great for a day or maybe 2. Maybe you talk about or share the thing with others, and then the feeling kind of fades, and then you're back in the kind of ordinary life, and you're like, I wonder what I should do next. And then kind of the cycle begins anew. And this may sound kind of depressing, and it is a little bit depressing, but it's kind of once you take off this lid of depression, there's like this big boiling soup of optimism and meaningfulness, I guess. Because once you realize this, the fact that actually those achievements don't really matter that much after you get them, is that the cool thing, the thing that makes it all worth it, the thing that you actually want is doing the thing. Like, you may have a goal of clearing, like let's say you're playing Doropachi or whatever, you want to get that clear, and of course, having that goal of getting that clear motivates you, gives you meaning. But the actual kind of process of playing the game is what you want. That's the good stuff. Because once you attain your goal, what that means is that the thing is over. You've done it, and it's the end point. And it's kind of actually really fun, because I play a lot of arcade bullet hell games, and the really funny thing about arcade games is that at the end of, even if you manage to clear a game and then you get the credit sequence and everything, and then you input your name or whatever, and then always after all of that you get the game over screen. Even if you beat the game, you get the game over screen. But it doesn't mean, often we associate with game over being like it's a fail state, but it's actually, in kind of an arcade bullet hell game, it's literally like you did it, the game is over, and then you have to find something new to play, and then you attach yourself to a new goal, and then it begins again and again. And so again, just this topic links to the first two topics. So the fact that you shouldn't try to rush through the beginner stage because it's a very interesting phase in itself, and two, that kind of unpleasant feelings are okay in moderation. Again, it's kind of like I think the problem arises when we kind of try to rush through to that end point, even if the end point only means that it's kind of over. And then we can kind of miss the actual juicy fun part, which is the process of going through a game or some other thing. Because to use an example from my life, this is so heavy, I don't know if I will be able to do this, but this winter I read through Marcel Proust's In Search of Lost Time. In my edition, it's like 3,000 pages, it's 6 paperbacks. And when I started reading the first book, I was like, yeah, this is cool, let's get on with the thing. And then I got the second book, and so on and so on, and I got interested in all the improved language and ideas and everything that's happening. But then at some point it starts to kind of become a bit of a slog, because some of these middle volumes kind of suck. Like, where's the third volume? In Search of Lost Time, Volume 3, The Guermantes Way. This has like a 200-page long salon scene where people are eating dinner and talking about, like, basically making like witty jokes, which are actually kind of mean and stupid, and it's just mind-numbing to read. And then again, after this, it gets into some good stuff, then into some bad stuff again. So at some point, I kind of started rushing, because I was like, I'm kind of interested in the book, but it's not, right now it's not that enjoyable, and maybe, if I stop now, I will never finish it. And then I kind of rushed through it a little bit at some point, and then at the end it got really good again. It's a really cool finale. But what happened at the end, at the very end, maybe because the final book was so good, it made me feel really sad when I got to the end and I read the words, the end. It was like game over, like in an arcade game. It just meant that the kind of the fun thing was over, and now I'm like, I want to read something that feels as kind of epic and kind of crazy and everything. But yeah, I don't know what to read next now that this is over. Not that this was the best book ever. It was just such a unique experience, and so just like with bullet hell, sometimes you want to get that clear, and when you get that clear, you feel kind of empty because you're like, now you have to keep searching for the next thing. And so, again, to summarize the points, I'm sure you've gotten it already, but the meaningful part is not the goal. The goal is there to motivate you, to kind of give you a kind of point towards which you strive to, but the striving is the good bit. It's what you actually want to be doing. So there were some other things that I planned to talk about today, like how perfection is overrated and some other things, but I don't want this talk to be longer than the clear that I plan on using as the kind of visual backdrop of this talk. So I think I'm going to stop now, but if you're still watching, please do let me know what you thought of this kind of like unscripted, unedited format, because I'm not really able to do like full-on videos right now. And also, this kind of thing is something that I'm kind of actually more interested in right now. Even as a kind of YouTube viewer, I've been gravitating towards more kind of these videos where people just kind of talk and you can kind of follow their train of thoughts and go through the process instead of getting this really condensed, like these key points of data. So yeah, let me know how you found this video, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, all that stuff. And as always, thanks for watching and see you again soon. Bye bye.